Okay. 11 people die in Libya after gunmen stormed the Electoral Commission office in Tripoli. Ethiopian Jews appeal to President Reuven Rivlin to help them migrate to Israel. And Morocco ends diplomatic relations with Iran over its support for the Polisario Front. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Temito Kwefagbemi. We begin today in Libya, where at least 11 people have been killed after gunmen attacked the Electoral Commission offices in the capital, Tripoli. Suicide bombers are reported to have been part of the attack, causing a big explosion which sent a plume of black smoke above the building. Members of the Election Commission and security guards are believed to be among the casualties. The Electoral Commission has been registering voters in anticipation of elections that the United Nations hopes can be held in Libya by the end of the year. In East Africa, Ethiopian Jews are appealing to President Reuven Rivlin of Israel to help them migrate to his country so that they can reunite with members of their families. The request was made by Jewish representatives at the start of a state visit to Ethiopia on Tuesday. Jewish leaders say nearly 80,000 people are stranded in Ethiopia waiting to migrate to Israel, with all claiming to be descendants of Jews who converted to Christianity years ago, mostly under duress. More than 140,000 Ethiopian Jews now live in Israel, many of whom were helped to move there by the Israeli authorities. Morocco says it is ending its diplomatic relations with Iran over the country's military support for the Western Sahara independence movement, the Polisario Front. The Moroccan Foreign Minister Nasser Bourita says the Iranian ambassador in Rabat will be expelled, accusing Iran and its ally, the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah, of training and arming Polisario fighters. However, Iran has denied supplying weapons to the Western Sahara independence movement. The Foreign Ministry described the allegations of cooperation between an Iranian diplomat and the Polisario Front as false. Morocco annexed Western Sahara in 1975, and since then it's been locked in a territorial dispute with indigenous Sahrawi people led by the Polisario Front. As Zimbabwe prepares for general elections in July, a leading opposition politician has vowed to expel Chinese investors who he says are looting the country. Addressing a crowd during the May Day rally, Mr. Nelson Chamisa says if he wins the presidential elections, he will kick out Chinese companies and call off deals made by President Emerson Mnangagwa. Mr. Chamisa, who took over the movement for democratic change after the death of its leader, Morgan Tsvangirai, plans to run against President Mnangagwa in elections. The July poll will be the first since the forced resignation of long-serving ruler Robert Mugabe in November. In South Africa, a bus strike has entered its third week and commuters have been hit the hardest, financially and convenience-wise. Commuters say they spend double on transport as they have to take two different taxis to their workplaces as compared to one bus trip. The bus drivers have been striking for a salary increase of 9.5%, as well as better working conditions like night shift allowance and medical aid. The companies offer an 8% increase for the first year and 8.5% increase for the second year. In Cape Town, tourists were left stranded after the bus they were traveling in was attacked by protesting bus drivers. The bus keys were removed from the ignition and the driver was told to stop working and join the strike. So let's get more on the story from Beki Metula, a South African journalist who joins us from Johannesburg. Thanks for joining us on the program.
Yes, how are you?
I'm fine. How is the government reacting to the demands of the striking bus drivers?
Okay, the Minister of Transport together with the Minister of Labour have actually issued a joint statement asking for the both parties to come down and come to a sort of agreement because this is like the third week now that the strike is going on and the people who are mostly affected are the commuters. And then they issued a joint statement just appealing that the bus services must continue as usual while the negotiations are still going on.
But in the meantime, are there any palliative measures on ground to cushion the impact of the strike on commuters?
No, not at the moment, no. Because, for instance, I live like 47 kilometers away in Soweto from work. So you find yourself having to take 2 different taxis to work, and there are long queues, very long queues. For instance, most of the time, if I have to leave home at around 6:30, I used to reach work on time. But now I have to leave an hour early because the queues are very long. Everyone is using the taxi system now. There are no alternative transports. Okay, there are also the trains, but they're also very full. And in certain areas that you can only find them, but there is no fixed thing that can say no, this is to take care of the bus strike situation or an alternative for commuters.
Looking at the body language of the striking drivers, would you say they're ready to listen to the appeal of the transport minister?
Okay, the only thing is that the union representing the drivers and the employers haven't really reached a common ground, both of them, because as you can see, the unions or the companies are willing to increase the salary with 8.5%. The unions initially wanted a 12.5% increase, but they've compromised down to 9.5%. So it doesn't seem like they are ready or willing to take anything less than what they are demanding.
Now, yesterday was International Labour Day. How would you assess the welfare of South African workers generally?
The South African government has covered reasonable ground in, providing generally fair working environment or generally fair employment grounds in South Africa. Obviously, there will always be disputes here and there, but the government always tries to accommodate such issues. Like, for instance, the ongoing issue of the basic the basic income. Like, there should be a certain number or a certain amount that is like the basic for everyone in the country. So now they've started talking around the 20 rand an hour. Some people are saying it's not enough, but the government has been using that as some sort of a starting point, and it's still open. There's still an open dialogue, like how they should proceed from that. So generally, the workers in South Africa have like a place or have some ears that listen to them when they have those complaints.
South African journalist Mbeki Mitula, thank you so much for joining us on Network Africa.
Thank you, ma'am.